Welcome into Three Questions with Ivan Maisel, where Ivan brings his insight on all things college football right here on the On3 YouTube channel on a weekly basis, no less. Ivan, what do you say we talk a little bit about the Georgia Bulldogs? Sound good to you?
Absolutely. I remember them.
Yeah, it's funny because you remember them. It feels like, to me at least, with all the buzz around Tennessee, all the storylines around Alabama, there's less people remembering Georgia than maybe there were a few weeks ago or after what they did to Oregon and Atlanta. Is that a fair assessment? In your mind, how much is Georgia being overlooked when it comes to this national picture?
Well, look, Tennessee sucked up all the air in the room for the last several days. In Georgia, the schedule has not been overwhelming, but they struggled at Missouri. So there are a lot of reasons to be that they haven't hogged the spotlight lately, but it's a really good team. And they've got the one thing of having been there and knowing how to complete the task, which is so important in college athletics in general, and especially in college football. So I'm not concerned. I'm not too concerned about Georgia. I think they'll be favored to win at home against Tennessee, and I do expect them to do it.
That's going to be a fun game. I'm very excited to talk about that here in just a second. But talking about the defense, 8 new starters. And not that they've looked subpar by any stretch of the imagination, but there have been games that kind of just make you tilt your head a little bit and say, interesting. I mean, the Kent State game, like you mentioned, at Missouri, didn't necessarily play to the same caliber that we're used to seeing from Georgia. In your mind, how much are they still getting their sea legs?
Well, I think so to a degree, JD, but a couple of things are at play there. One, let's not forget, we are comparing them to one of the great defenses in recent college football history. I mean, they had, several starters drafted in the first round. So that's really good, and that's kind of what we're used to with Georgia, and that's not who they are now. But they're still very good. Missouri was just a thing of being on the road. Georgia's young players had not been a hostile environment, and it took them a while to get accustomed. But by the middle of the third quarter, Georgia asserted itself and dominated the fourth quarter. So
that does, yeah.
I think that's a learning experience, and it happens with young teams. But they survived it, and on they've gone.
No, I think you absolutely hit it on the head. With Georgia, from where I'm sitting, it will never be a matter of, man, do we got the guys to compete with, insert whatever team you want there. Like, whenever Georgia feels like they want to be Georgia and they have that switch turned on, like, all bets are off for everybody else. The interesting thing, like you mentioned, is like the experience side of things, especially defensively with so many new faces. That feels like maybe it's still baking. Now, Georgia half-baked is still better than I would venture to say like 95% of the country defensively. So, I mean, it's, first world problems is what we like to say. But as a whole, yeah. I mean, Georgia's someone that I'm very intrigued to watch. And a game that you already mentioned, when they welcome, Tennessee to Athens, it's going to be a very intriguing game for a lot of reasons, potentially going to decide the SEC East. You alluded to it a little bit, but how do you see them matching up with Tennessee if they were to play today?
Well, I think they'd match up pretty well, because they move the ball well. And, Georgia, Stetson Bennett, having been at Georgia for 13, 14 years now, I mean, he can run that offense. And they are throwing for well over 300 yards a game. Tennessee is beating people by outscoring them, and Georgia can match Tennessee, I think, in offense. The running game's powerful. And Brock Bowers is a weapon that nobody else in the country has. And they've been very good. Todd Monken's been very good at using him. I haven't seen a lot of tight end reverses in my day. And, we're seeing that with Brock Bowers. We're seeing him do all kinds of stuff. And it's been really fun to watch. And I just think Georgia can take advantage of Tennessee's Tennessee's defense.
I'm so glad you said that. Because I was saying that I think after it happened, the Sunday, I would say, after that game where he's taking reverses to the house. I'm like, you call reverses to your fast guys, to your running backs line up in the slot. You don't do that to your tight ends. I mean, his home planet must be Krypton because it's not Earth. Yeah. I promise you. Brock Bowers is a certified alien, and that play just goes to show it. But I think you said something interesting talking about the way they match up. We've seen Tennessee be able to just sort of out-track meet people. Like they were able to win a track meet against Alabama. We've seen them outscore and really put the pedal to the metal against LSU. What happens if Georgia plays the caliber of defense that we have come to expect from them, and kind of make it a back-and-forth, low-scoring affair, especially in Athens? That game could be very, very interesting. So I'll end with this. Are you going to be at that game, Ivan? I know travel plans are probably still formulating. I know you go where they're good. Both teams undefeated. Are we going to see you in Athens?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am a front runner, and I expect I'll be there. I haven't looked farther down the schedule yet, to be honest with you. And, who knows? The next 2 weeks, something crazy could happen. That's been known to happen, but I fully expect to be between the hedges on that Saturday.
Yeah, like you said, fully expect something crazy to happen within the next 2 weeks. But all things considered, would love to, selfishly, us being on this show, would love to be able to pick your brain when you come back from Athens and just be on the edge of our seat asking you, hey, what was that like? But regardless, Ivan, as always, thanks so much for giving us a little bit of your time, dropping some knowledge on us. Folks, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, follow Ivan on Twitter, stay up with every single thing we're doing here. You don't want to miss a minute of it. Ivan, we appreciate you, and we'll see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.